I want to show you how to use Google Sheets and Desmos to compute some statistical measures. I've brought up the homework, so let me go ahead and bring up some of our homework questions. This particular homework has, let's see, I'm on number 9. Let me go back to number 1, actually. So this particular homework has a lot of data in it. And you'll notice that for most of the homework questions, there's a download data link. If you do this, it's going to take you to a spreadsheet of the data, which is much easier to work with when you're working with a spreadsheet program. So I'm just going to let this load. It does take it, I'm on my computer, my home computer, and I don't have Excel on this computer, so it just takes me to this Excel Lite program. Once I've got my data in there, it'll take just a second. Once I've got my data in there it is. What I want to do is to put this into Google Sheets. If this is already opening up for you automatically in Excel, then you don't need to do this extra step. But right now I can't do any calculations in this Excel Lite program. So I'm going to do File, and I'm going to save this as a Google Sheet. It takes just a second, but once I'm there, I've got all of the functionality that Excel does. So the things that I'm doing here in Google Sheets is the same that you can do in an Excel program. So I've got my data here. Let's see, I don't even think I remember what I was going to compute. Let me get rid of this. There's my homework. So let me click on the homework question. It says to find the mean, median, and mode quartiles. Oh, well, this is which are the measures of central tendency. So it's going to ask me several things. So I want to go ahead and compute, say, the mean. So I'm just going to run through a bunch of the statistical measures with you. So I'm going to do the mean first. I'm just labeling them, but I'm actually going to do my calculation here. You can pick any blank cell. In order to do a calculation that you want Google Sheets to perform, you're going to start by typing enter into your empty cell. I want it to do the mean, but Google Sheets and Excel calls that average. So I start typing an average, and then it brings up the function that I want. I hit parentheses, and once I've got my parentheses in there, whoops, I'm ready to go ahead and select my data. I am just going to click, hold, and drag to get my data in there. And then I can hit enter. I don't even need to close those parentheses. So it gives me this average, this mean, with a lot of decimal places. You might want to take a look and see how the homework question wants you to round it. You can use this decreased decimal, increased decimal places to get the correct rounded number of decimal places that you want. Okay, so there's the mean. If I want to do the median, I'm going to do something really similar. I want Google Sheets to compute, so I hit equals, and then I start typing in median, and it does give me the function, so I know how to continue typing. And again, I've got my parenthesis, and then I click and drag to select my data. Easy, right? I go ahead and hit enter. So much easier than entering this into your calculator. This will also do the standard deviation. It will do both the population and the sample standard deviation. So I'm going to do the standard deviation of the sample first. So I'll go equal std, and then you can just look down here and see which one you want. You want this .s, so std ev.s parentheses. Then I'm just going to move over and select my data once again, and then enter. And I can do the same thing for my population data, std devp. And same thing, let's see, so equals stdev dot p, and then grab my data. You can also find n, the number of data values that you've got. Here it's called count. So I'm going to go equals count. I have to remember it's count in Google Sheets. When I switch over to Desmos, in Desmos, it's length. So count is what we want here. It's pretty easy to tell the way it set it up here for me, but I'll go ahead and do the count regardless. So I've got the count. The one thing that I want to warn you about here in Google Sheets and in Excel, the quartiles don't come out the same. So if you're doing your quartiles here, you're not going to match the quartiles that you're getting in the homework. Desmos, however, does calculate the quartiles correctly. Mean, median, mode was the last one, right? So mode. So if I go equal and I'm looking for a mode, Multiple, this will give you an array of values. Singular, I just want normal mode. So I'm going to go ahead and choose normal mode. Parentheses, I'm not going to have a bunch of them here, so I'm okay just to do this. And then I end up with my mode, and it says not applicable, which probably means as I'm looking at this that there is no mode. So speaking of, something else that you can do is to go ahead and take this data and sort it. So if I click on this down arrow, it gives me the option to sort the sheet. And if I, let's see, will it just give me the range? Sort sheet A to Z. I can also go up to data if I just want to sort the column. So if I go to data and then I want to sort range by column A, so I can do it that way. So let me just grab my data. So play around, some really great things that the program will do for you. So I'm going to sort A to Z. So now I've got these sorted in order, so it's a lot easier for me to take a look and see, oh yeah, sure, there is no mode here. I came up with, where'd my median go? It looks like it moved everything around here. I must have chosen sort sheet. Oh, it sorted the, that's okay. Oh, and it changed my values as well. So if you're sorting, make sure you don't mess with this stuff. I'm gonna do a Control Z to undo what I had done. And then I can go back and choose instead sort range. So that's the other nice thing. You've got Control Z. You can certainly undo anything that you need to undo. Once you have your data, either in Excel, so as soon as you hit that download data from Connect Math, whether you end up in Excel or like I am here in Google Sheets, you can take that data and then do one more step and copy it into Desmos. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got Desmos open, but let me go ahead and just open one from scratch because I think that's got a lot of stuff in it. So I'm going to go into Desmos. So just Desmos. And it's going to give me an option to start. And I hit start. You don't need to sign in or anything, unless you have an account and you want to. I want to have my cursor here, and I do. I'm going to copy and paste my data in, but I want to go ahead and label my data first so I have a letter to call the data up by when I do my stats functions. So I'm just going to call this list L for lack of a better word. So I'm just going to say L equals. I'm going to go over here to my data. I've already got it selected, so I just need to copy it. So Control C. And then over into Desmos, and I'm going to go Control V to copy my data. Notice that this automatically gives me that value of N. So I've got that N, that count already. I want to go ahead and do the same things, the mean, the median, the mode, a standard deviation. You have a couple of options. One of the things that you can do is to grab, let me hide this guy, is to grab your keypad. So if you grab the keypad, you can go ahead and type on functions and it will bring up several different options. We want stats functions. Before I choose a stat function, I'm going to put my cursor into a new cell so I can do this calculation. And then I go into functions and I want to do, we'll do the mean first. So this one's much more mathy and I don't need to hit the equals. So I go ahead and type the mean and it says the mean of what? And I type in my capital L and it gives me that mean. I can continue to do more of these measures by going into functions again, and I can find the median as well. So there's my 1305. I can find the standard deviation, and you'll probably get to the point where you remember some of these. In this one, standard deviation without any letter at the end of it is the sample standard deviation. It's the most commonly used form because we rarely have all of our data. So the population standard deviation is the one with a P. So I can go ahead and grab standard deviation and then L. So I've got some really nice things that I can do here with my data. It will not bring up like one variable data, which is great, but instead it does bring up your quartiles. So I can go ahead and do a quartile as well. And this will match the quartiles that we do in statistics. So if I'm looking for a quartile, I can type in L, but it's not giving me a value yet. That's because I need to tell it which one. So I'm going to do comma 1. So that's going to cut off the lower 25% of my data. If I do quartile 2, I should get that median of 1305. So if I do quartile, I'm just typing it in because I remember L comma 2, sure enough, I get that 1305. So you've got some really nice ways of bringing up the different statistical functions in Desmos as well. Let me go back to the homework. I was in question 9. Let's see, what was question 9? So if I bring up question 9, this one has some class limits and some frequencies to it. There's actually a simpler one that I wanted to look at with you. Same idea. The numbers were just a little simpler. Yeah, this is the one, number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I'm going to download my data. So I'm downloading my data. It's going to again bring it up in my Excel Lite program. I've got it here, and I want to just go ahead. I already have Google Sheets open, so I'm just going to copy and paste. So copy, going to go over to my Google Sheets here, and then I'm just going to paste my data in an empty cell there and paste. So this time I've got frequencies. So what I need to do is to compute a weighted mean. That's what this question asks me to do. These aren't going to work for me, these ranges. So instead I need to insert a column here, or you could put it on the end. Either one works, but I'm going to go ahead and insert a column to the left of frequency, and I need my midpoints. I'm just going to call this capital M. Well, we know what the midpoint calculation is. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see it. So we know what our midpoints are. Whoops. Come on, wrong way. Okay, there we go. So, so we know what the midpoint. Got it. Okay, so we know what the midpoint formula is, but I can go ahead and have, I can have Google Sheets compute this for me. So this would be equals, then I can just type this in, 10 plus 19 divided by 2. And then that will find me the first one. I can do this with the second one, or I can notice that if I go from the lower limit of 10 to the next lower limit of 20, there's a distance of 10 in between these. So I can go ahead and add 10 to each of these values. So if I add 10, that's going to give me 24.5, right? And so on. But I can be even fancier than that, and I can say equals the previous cell plus 10. It's a series. So I can hit enter there. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to grab, see I'm grabbing this lower square, that little blue square. I put my cursor on it until it looks like a plus sign. And then I go ahead and click and drag this down. And then it's got all of my values there, 14.5 through 64.5. If I want to put these values into Desmos or something like that, right now they're calculations. So if I click on these, they do show up as calculations. Whoops. But if I wanted to do something else with them, I would want to select my data. So I'm just going to give you a warning. You can work with them from here for now, but I would do an edit, copy. And then I'm just going to paste right on top, edit, paste special, and I want to paste the values only. Now they're ready to be copied into another program, because right now they're formulas, and that wouldn't work to copy into something like Desmos. Well, from here, I don't have a lot of options actually, unfortunately, with either Desmos or with Google Sheets to do some grouped data, but there is a weighted mean option. So I can do equals, and then I want to just start typing in average. Forget average, and notice that the weighted average shows up. So I want to go ahead and choose that weighted average. So I want the weighted average, and then it asks me what values I want. I highlight my data values first, and then I put a comma, and then I highlight my frequencies second. Parentheses, enter. So this is my weighted mean. If I wanted to, instead, let me make this bigger. So if I wanted to find the other things like a standard deviation, what I would need is, and it would be worth it, I think, is to do 2 of the 14.5s. And I'm going to show you a quick way of doing that. I'm just going to make myself a single data list that uses my frequencies, but in a way that I can go ahead and grab this data. So I'm going to start with my first midpoint of 14.5. There are 2 of those. So if I click on the first one and I grab that square in the lower right and I drag it down, it copies it. So I've got 2 there. I need 6 of the 24.5, so 24.5, enter. I need 6 of those. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got 6 of those. I'm just using my frequencies to create a single list, an ungrouped list. Okay, the next one, 34.5. I need 15 of these. So I'm going to go back and make this smaller again. Okay, so I'm going to make this smaller. I need, what did I say, 15 of these. So I'm just going to start going down for a while here until maybe I get to this. And then I can do a quick count. So I can go equals count, and I want to see how many 34.5s I've got so far. I've got 14. Oh, that was really good. So close. Okay, so there is my 15th one. Get rid of that guy. Next are my 44.5. So it's a little bit of a pain, but it's worth it. So next I want my 44.5. And you kind of get the idea, right? Once I'm done, so I'm not going to do all of them, but once I'm done, then I can use my standard deviation formulas. I'll do the standard deviation for the sample. And they're not all here, but this at least gives you an idea of how you can take that grouped frequency and ungroup it so that you can utilize some of the other features. Desmos also won't let you do a grouped data list. It just needs one. This is called one variable statistic. So it will just take that single list. Lots of other features. If you've got questions, let me know. You can also look a lot of things up on the web so that you can learn more about the tools and features that both Google Sheets has, or Excel, same thing, and Desmos.